Every few months, a big report comes out stating that the Stadia platform is on its last leg. Gamers make prediction it dies by the end of the year, like other Google products. Then we see a big deal like with LG or Samsung announced and a slew of new games coming to the platform. Plus, I'm sure you notice more people on social media appear to defend the platform versus the atypical jokes, only 5 Stadia players and so forth. And that may have you scratching your head. Well, if you want to know the truth on why this keeps happening over and over again, this video is for you. Buckle up. See as Stadia Truly Exposed. What is really going on with the platform? It's SDO Daily, baby. Let's get into this one. What's up, people? What's up, people? What's up, people? It is your boy MM2K of SDO Daily, PNTS Network, and StadiaDosage, back with another SDO Daily. Can you do us a huge favor before we get into this one? Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and rock those bells for notifications, please, so you know when we're dropping these doses. We appreciate all of y'all. Straight up, you know the deal, you know the reason, and by now you should know the slogan. What is it? We are not too proud to ask. Let's get into it. All right, so you, I, and other gamers hear it all the time. Stadia's dead. And you can't blame the general populace who knows of the platform's existence for believing this. It has been echoed by some big-time publications like WCCF Tech, IGN, GameSpot, Bloomberg, and now Business Insider. The problem is, it, as in Stadia, hasn't gone away. You notice it every time you see a person here or there playing or even praising the platform. Now, both truths cannot occupy the same space and same time. So what in the heck is going on? In order to understand and help you all understand this systemically, we here are going to point out the flaws in the latest reporting that's similar to the rest, show the facts that are covered in the article, but explain what they really mean. And finally, finalize what's going on with the platform for you to understand. All right. So let's do that first part. Let's talk about the flaws in the latest article. All right. Now, the biggest problem is that all these articles, including the one that we're about to look at, they try too hard to make things sound so ominous than what they really are. Now, am I trying to say that Stadia is perfect? No. Has its path in the cloud gaming space been easy without bumps? Absolutely not, as we will show you what's all been going on, truly. But the fact that they are having challenges in the cloud gaming space and the severity of those challenges being no more than what its cloud gaming peers are experiencing, cloud gaming right now is just simply in its early years. It's super niche, but rapidly growing. Honestly, people, it'll be another 5 to 10 years before any of these platforms make major waves on the general gaming stage. These platform holders know that. From GFN, saying that, or the GM of GFN saying that cloud gaming is just a complementary way to game in addition to native hardware. What am I talking about? Let me show you something. This is a quote from the GM of GFN who says, in the PC Gamer article, NVIDIA doesn't believe it ever will either, talking about cloud gaming will ever surpass or be on the same level as dedicated devices. With Eisler of NVIDIA calling it complementary. The cloud is intended to just be another way to play like PC and mobile, but with a more cross-platform approach. That's what the head or the GM of NVIDIA Geforce Now was saying about the potential of cloud gaming. We've had something echoed by Phil Spencer as well when he said cloud gaming is just good for you to play a game while you're waiting for it to download on your console, right? And then on top of that, you've even had Stadia execs, the ones that keep getting lambasted and who you keep being told wanted Stadia out of the box to compete with Xbox and PlayStation. Even Stadia execs were telling you before its launch, it will take years for cloud platforms to have the full robust offerings of native hardware. Let me show you something else. This is from Jack Buser, who at the time was the head of games at Stadia. He said, this is several months before launch. He says, in regards to dedicated devices, the same device you are using certainly has better and more rich game experiences than Stadia or cloud gaming. That will take time to play out because gamers will have to realize, oh my gosh, Stadia has improved so much from years ago, meaning it's going to take years to get to that point. I can't believe I'm still using the same screen, but that's the third piece there. Wow. So unlike how these articles may try to make you believe, Stadia was never intended to be a breakout hit from launch with general gamers. They tell you so, and they tell you so even in the article by Business Insider that we're breaking down right now. What am I talking about? Let me again show you something else. So this is the Business Insider article. Exclusive Google is trying to salvage its failing Stadia game service with a new focus on striking deals with Peloton, Bungie, and others under the brand Google Stream. And this came out a few weeks ago, or a week ago to this recording. And it sounds so ominous. It makes you think that it's on its last legs. Google's about to close shop. And we're going to show you why, again, even with its flaws, the things that actually have gone wrong, that's the farthest thing from the truth. But I want to show you guys something that really stuck out to me in the article. That kind of where Business Insider kind of contradicted their own selves, and they've had a habit of doing this in their articles. A lot of their articles, gaming related, where they've done the expose themselves. They've fallen on the wrong side of the facts. This happened with PlayStation when they tried to make it seem like that there would be less PlayStation 5s than any other console out there. And here, PlayStation 5, at least projectually, has like 5 million units out there more than the Xbox Series consoles. But I digress. Here's the part that I want you guys to see, right? Let's see if we can make this bigger here. We don't want to make it too big. All right, it says, Google has also struggled, according to the article, to hold on to users. Harrison and other executives set a goal to reach 1 million active users by the end of 2020. And they also say they missed by about 25%. And again, this part of the article, I believe, is true. But it contradicts the tone of the article because here's the fact of the matter, y'all. If Google had attended 20 months, by the end of 2020, to reach 1 million active users, that's 14 months from launch. The atypical saturation of consoles, the ones that they want to convince you that Google was trying to compete with, the atypical saturation of consoles is on the low end within that same time period is 6 million. And on the high end, we're talking about 14 million. 1 million is less even than what the OG Xbox did in its first 14 months, which was around 2.4 million. With a goal like that, no way were the people at Google and Stadia looking to compete with hardware. And there's plenty of articles out there to show you, including the one where I showed you from Jack Buser not too long ago. The theme of the article, the Business Insider article, is really done after that, but there's more. You know what I'm saying? Like, after seeing this, you really look at the article and you're like, hold on, you just snitched on yourself. You said that Stadia is failing because it's not selling as much as dedicated hardware, but they set none of their goals anywhere close to dedicated hardware. And you can really just close the book with that. However, they slyly put in a quote from a source that Google's focus is 80% white label, selling the business to business, and only 20% to Stadia retail. And as someone who has talked to people that have been affected on the front lines from this, and we'll get into that later, that's a bunch of hogwash, okay? But what they're doing is they're trying to drive home their narrative that Stadia has been deprioritized. And that's because, you know, the naysayers can't say Stadia is dead anymore. They got to say it's deprioritized because it's not going away, and they can tell it's not going away anytime soon. So why not just say, hey, you know what? It's still around, but it's been deprioritized. That's why it's not doing as well as Xbox or PlayStation. Get it? But they never confirmed the validity of their source in regards to Stadia only being 20% of the attention, as it could be from a former or current employee. We know that Stadia made some heavy investments in the Stadia retail after the closure of SG&E. We know that for a fact based upon the Stadia keynote. But before I even go there, I want to go back to the article, and I want to show you where they claim from their source that Stadia's focus on the retail business is only 20%. You got to take a look at this wording. This is comical. Let me show you something. This is the quote right here that's highlighted. It says, current and former employees, now check this out. Current and former employees said the priority was now on proof of concept work for Google Stream in securing white label deals. One estimated about 20% of the focus was on. Now, if you look at this, they've lumped in current and former employees, but which one is it? Who is the one who estimated 20%? Is it a current employee, or is it a former employee that isn't aware, that wasn't around when Stadia did its keynote in July of 2021 and told you about all these initiatives that they were going and all these investments they were making into Stadia retail? Interesting. So again, someone not around when those investments were made or occurred, and that were talked about in 2021. And these changes were so compound into solidifying Stadia's attempt to grow. Here, let me show you a video from one of the videos from the keynote, and a quote from one of the main videos from the keynote where they talked about this new infusion and investment into Stadia retail. This is from the operations manager at IO Interactive behind the uber successful AAA Hitman series. He says over the past year and a half, the back end improved drastically, allowing for even more freedom of approach and flexibility, which is what every publisher and developer needs. That's what the operations manager is saying about Stadia as Stadia presents its new. Oh, why did I dislike that? That's crazy. While Stadia persists in its new investment for Stadia retail, right? Now, these changes were so compounded to solidifying Stadia's attempt to grow its business that one of its harshest critics, GameIndustry.biz, said the following afterwards, after the presentation was made. They said the continued promotion of these features that were shown in the keynote, the new wave of incentives to get more developers on board as pro partners, and that 85/15 revenue share lasting until 2023 suggests that the perceived inevitable failure of Stadia might not be as imminent as some people think. Okay, and if you want more on this fantastic keynote, there's about 4, maybe 5 videos on it. Just go to Google or go to YouTube or Google and just type in Stadia keynote and you'll get access to all the fantastic videos. But here's what's odd enough about all this is that even though heavy critics like GameIndustry.biz could say that, oddly enough, there is no reference at all to the Stadia keynote in this article. That's important because if you are to believe the tone of this article, you must believe that all those things that are talked about in the article as far as the investment were reversed or axed. However, literally the day before the article hit, Stadia confirmed that the key initiatives spoke of in that keynote were in fact still intact. Let me show you something else. This is an article that dropped February 3rd, 2022. It says, learn about our new Stadia partner incentives. The first paragraph reads as following. Supporting our developer and publishers partners is a core goal of Stadia and our keynote at the 2021 Google for Games Developer Summit. Outline how we'd be increasing the return on their investment. 2 of these incentive programs we've announced at the summit are now available to help our current and future partners generate more revenue on our platform. This is one quote from one developer from Acapura Games. It says, we've launched 2 of our titles in the Stadia program recently, Grime and the Dark Side Detective. Despite being polar opposites in the terms of content and genre, both perform well in terms of finances and player reception. The Stadia Pro seems to benefit a wide variety of games regardless of style and replayability. Stadia Pro has consistently exceeded our expectations in both payout and player engagement. We have an active, passionate community of players for our titles. Wow. All that ominous stuff from the Business Insider article. Wow. Just, but you just got to do your research. And that's what Business Insider is hoping, that you could click on this article, not really be real in depth in the news surrounding Stadia, not know where to go to find things like that, not be in tune to this channel, of course. And you can believe all that bullpucky, all that ominous bullpucky. With that said, I think it's safe to say that maybe not all of the reporting from the Business Insider article, but the tone of the article was way too ominous and out of touch with the entire reality. But it's time for us to go over the real talking points, because everything isn't fantastic and great with Stadia. You know what I'm saying? So let's talk about the real talking points from the article, right, that are worth going over. Now, with all that I just said in regards to the holes and the contradictory stuff in the Business Insider article, the article brought up some key information that was already reported a year ago. However, it did have a sprinkle of a little bit more detail. First and foremost, we cannot lie. Stadia did have, and possibly still has in a lot of regards, a retention problem. The retention problem is real. In 2020, Stadia would go through many dips, increases of 1,000% when they released Stadia free, or they, allowed you to be able to play Stadia in 4K on your web browser without having to buy a Chromecast Ultra or Stadia Premier bundle, and without having to have a special code. You could just sign up online and you could play Stadia, not be a pro member, and buy games a la carte. They would see 1,000% increase in engagement, new player activity. That would just go right back down to the normal rates. Now, with that said, Stadia's biggest growth was the month that Cyberpunk 2077 came out. That made the company realize that its best way towards systemic growth is the big ticket games that everyone is talking about. They haven't seen growth like this until they were able to show that they were a feasible, in a lot of ways, the most feasible way for the average gamer to play one of the biggest games of the year. Hence why in 2021, they made the pivot to close SG&E and first lock down the games that people are talking about. If you were paying close attention to Stadia in 2020, Stadia was throwing out a lot of surveys. What is it that you want to play? You want to see exclusive, this and that and the other. And the biggest thing was, we want to see the big third-party games on this platform. That's what, by a wide margin, okay? Now, in order to do that, it's a work in progress that requires some other infusion we will talk about soon. And that other infusion is related to the next topic, which I think is fairly brought up, but maybe not talked about properly in tone, but fairly brought up in the Business Insider article. And that is the AAA games issue. This is definitely a current challenge. When Stadia released, they knew a bunch of hardcore gaming tech enthusiasts would be their initial takers. They paid for a lineup, and they paid significantly for a lineup that would appeal to them within the first 14 months. They stated so in various interviews well before launch, okay? The hope was that the growth would be organic. Google does a lot of talk about this organic growth. I've talked to people that's in Google PR, not necessarily with Stadia, but in Google PR, that organic growth when it comes to its latest products and services is very important to Stadia. And the hope was that the growth would be organic as more lovers of the big AAA titles would come over by word of mouth. Like MM2K loves it, I will go out there and make videos about it, and then that would bring more people. And if this would have had been successful, this would have helped Stadia get more games on the platform due to what Google would have hoped would have been its growing popularity for a cloud platform. That is, again, remember their goal was 1 million, not even 6 million or even 2 million, you know what I'm saying, which is a meager million. So again, they were hoping that the platform would grow in popularity in the realm of a cloud platform, so they wouldn't have to keep paying the tremendous amount of money that they paid at launch to get the ports, because that's normal. You pay it at the beginning, first few years, and then what you're hoping is that you grow so much in popularity that the people just want to come organically. The publisher and the developers, we got to keep paying them in order to port the game over. Well, that didn't happen because for too long, the platform was not accessible enough to try. And even though I don't really agree with much of what this content creator has to say, and that's okay. They got their own opinion. They're doing uber successful way more than we are. Without our approval or not. But one thing that I did take from Spawnwave is that Google's problem early on is that people didn't want to invest even $130 into it. They wanted to try it out, and they didn't. And they couldn't because Stadia Free wasn't available, or there wasn't a way to, for them to just pay maybe $10 and give it a try, or sign up for Stadia Pro. And do the free pro subscription at launch. So because of that, people just was like, no, I'm not going to try it. And they went off of what they heard. And what they heard from the mainstream media, which the media began to create a narrative about the platform's performance that actually and honestly didn't jive with reality. You know what I mean? We find that out several months later, a year or so later, but the damage has already been done, right? So those potential gamers that were tainted by the time Stadia Free became available in 2020 were now a lost hope, and they wouldn't help Stadia get to its goal of 1 million monthly active users by the end of 2020. And they fell short of that 1 million mark, likely, and that mark was likely shared with publishers to help lure them to the system. And in response, during a pandemic causing financially unstable times and difficulties for many devs and publishers, the ask from these devs and publishers was probably more money. And that more money was probably not earmarked to continue getting these titles. They were expecting, they probably had a little bit more incentive there, instead of 10 million, maybe 5 million or 2 million or whatever. But they were hoping that if they hit that 1 million mark, that would entice more developers to come on, and they wouldn't have to pay so much. So I believe what happened is because they fell short of that mark. And then Jason Schreier's article that came out that exposed what people were being paid. You may have had some developers that looked at those prices and said, hey, if you're giving this group this amount of money, we feel like we should have got this. And so they would probably ask for more money that, again, wasn't earmarked, because you got to have a budget. You got investors, you got a board. You can't just throw money at stuff without a plan, a serious plan behind it, and a plan that confirms that certain results are going to be made. You got to remember, they've already threw X amount of money out there and said that our goal was going to be 1 million. They fell short of that goal. So if they do give these developers more money, how is the board going to look at that without there being a systemic and confirmed result from the end of that money? You know what I mean? You got to understand how business and investment works at that level, at the Fortune 500 level, in order for that to be able to soak it and explain why they're just not writing blank checks to keep this momentum going. They had a plan, the plan fell through, and now it's simply time for another plan. Hence why Stadia is building up their white label services, okay? This is how the white label is being involved in all this, and it's critical to all this. The white labeling will help subsidize future attempts at getting the games people want to play and hopefully keep retention up as well. And we've seen this idea work already with a company struggling to get games that its consumer base wants to play with Xbox. They use their white labeling efforts to build up their treasure chest, you know what I'm saying? Because during the time period, it was years, during the Xbox One era, just last generation, that Xbox was being clowned for not having the games. So Xbox doubled down on his white labeling efforts, building up his cash flow and really making more money than it had in the previous two gens. In the previous two gens, they lost a tone of $10 billion. In 2018, Xbox made $10 billion in that year alone, without any critically acclaimed titles. So they did a 180 in its productivity and its profitability. And a lot of that is due to the white labeling. After making so much money from those efforts, you saw corporate Microsoft write the checks you see today for them to do even more and help making Xbox a juggernaut in the gaming space. That being said, and Google is hoping to mimic that in ways. Xbox set a trend that for companies that are looking to build on getting more financially stable and getting the games, they set a trend that people are going to follow. And people like Stadia, which is own unique unilateral platform, would be good for them to follow as well. That being said, it's not like AAA titles have completely vanished from the platform. In 2020, Stadia had 5 non-Ubisoft, now pay attention to that. I'm talking about all the games that aren't coming from Ubisoft. They had 5 non-Ubisoft games release day and date, if my count is right. And those games, from my recollection, are Doom Eternal, NBA 2K21, PGA 2K21, Marvel Avengers, and Cyberpunk 2077. Guess how many they had in 2021? They had 5 as well. Hitman 3, Outriders, Resident Evil Village, Madden 22, FIFA 22. And by all intents and purposes, as echoed by my good friend Clive Linden, who also does Stadia content. If you don't know who he is, go look for his channel now. 2022 is going to look a lot like 2021. I think with marginally better output. You know what I'm saying? And when I say better output, I mean marginally better things coming from Stadia. I think we're going to see like the same composition of lineup, around 5 non-Ubisoft AAA titles, and then whatever's coming from Ubisoft on top of that. And then there is the Ubisoft support, which people want to brush off, which doesn't make sense to me. Ubisoft has been one of the most successful multi-platform publishers in the last few years, and having access to Ubisoft games is key for a lot of gamers. So you do have the Ubisoft support where future AAA games and titles will be made available a la carte or via Ubisoft Plus. And this partnership has given us an average of 2 to 3 AAA games a year. Lastly, I want to talk about what to make of Stadia. After all this information, Stadia is simply a cloud gaming service that is finding its best foot forward to prepare for when cloud gaming is more appealing to the market. It's working to build on its strength, which is its technology, with most features said to be coming in 2022, while addressing its shortcomings and fusion of cash with hopefully the white labeling effort will address, which will help with retention by getting bigger checks written to get more of the games that people want to play, like AAA games. All these cloud platforms are doing the same, building while addressing their shortcomings to get ready for the big stage. GFN is trying to address its monetary shortcomings, as stated by analysts like Ampere Group, not by me, by them, by creating more submodels, including the cost-centric 3080 tier, currently at $100 every 6 months. And you can't break that up currently at the time of this recording. You got to drop the $100 and you get 6 months access and so forth and so forth. Xcloud is doing the same thing, addressing its lackluster performance by getting help from Rainway for the web browser play, tweaking performance on the new server blades with new post-processing needs, and so forth. And again, these aren't my words, or this isn't my tone. Look at the cloud gaming compare video done by Digital Foundry, where they compare the new GFN 3080 tier to Stadia and to Xbox. Or Xcloud. They are dismayed by Xcloud's performance. Okay. So significant roadblocks are not unique to Stadia in the cloud space. And it's okay for all these platforms. Why? Because it's still a fastly growing but niche 1% business. Let me finally show you something else. This is from NASDAQ. You know, those little people in the financial world. How cloud computing is changing the world of games and gaming. Now, this article originally came out in 2020, but they've updated it after the closure of SG&E to talk about the cloud gaming space in totality. I want to take a significant quote out of here that I got to remind people of all the time that say Stadia is failing and cloud gaming is a failure and all this other stuff. This is according to NASDAQ's data. In 2021, the video game industry is projected to be $189 billion. Now, we don't know what the numbers are. Nobody's put them out yet, but it may be close to that or maybe higher. In revenues, according to another estimate, the global market is expected to reach a value of $256 billion, $0.97 billion by 2025. Okay, so that's gaming as a whole. That's console, whatever, all the PC, mobile, whatever. Those are the projections on all other gaming. Now for cloud gaming, it is estimated that cloud gaming revenues will exceed $1 billion for the first time in 2021. The cloud gaming market size is projected to reach $7.24 billion by 2027. So we're talking about in 2021, cloud gaming, all of gaming reaching $189 billion, and cloud gaming is just, they're projected to be at $1 billion. Now, since then, projections have been upped, and I think cloud gaming is now at $3 billion, but that's still less than 2% off of these projections right here for gaming altogether. And I don't even know if these projections have been exceeded. And then when you look at what global gaming is looked to be doing in 2025, and you looked at what cloud gaming is projected to be doing in 2027, 2 years later, that's less than 2% of what global gaming is doing. So cloud gaming is niche right now. And it was never, and these are the same quotes, the same analysis that has been given to these platform holders. So they know not to expect a lot out of these cloud platforms they're building. That's why Stadia only projected to have 1 million gamers at the end of 2020. That's still what Stadia was trying to do, is they were trying to hybrid, stay within the cloud gaming realm, but they thought they could do a little bit better than these projections, and they learned quick that the appetite for cloud gaming globally just ain't there yet. They learned real quick. You know what I'm saying? So with that said, I hope it makes sense now. None of these cloud gaming platforms, including Stadia, are even expecting huge systemic mainstream growth. Not for years. This is the building phase. There will be stumbles and redirection, but nonetheless a steady forward path to reaching the goal of being able to get on the main stage. But companies like Google and Amazon, who honestly, if you really get in tune with what's going on with cloud gaming and know the ins and outs of what these companies are looking to do, Google and Amazon have the quickest path to 1 billion gamers. And they are going nowhere no time soon. Why do I say so? Well, with the inevitable infusion of their successful content creation services, YouTube gaming and Twitch, Cloud gaming dominance is really theirs to lose long term. Think about it. When the cloud gaming and the content creation portions are infused, and you get someone like PewDiePie on the YouTube gaming front, or Ninja on the Twitch front, doing a live stream, and then they tell people in the chat, hey, I'm going to pull 5 of you out of the chat to play XYZ game with me right now. All you need to do is be logged into the relevant system for that streaming platform. Luna for Twitch or Stadia for YouTube gaming to participate. That's a powerful and lucrative incentive beyond belief. And it's only going to be specific to those two because nobody else in the cloud gaming space has a streaming service as large as YouTube gaming and particularly Twitch. Microsoft lost Mixer. What is GFN? They don't have a cloud gaming space. Facebook is whoa, they're nowhere near the reach of YouTube gaming and Twitch. All right. Sit back and think about that. Really. Think about it. So knowing that, let's pretend that you're head of one of these major companies. All right. And you know your long-term goal. And Stadia has talked about this multiple times. They've talked about it with Jeff Keighley. They've talked about it in interviews with Eurogamer well before launch. That their end state is when they become a single place for game streamers and cloud gaming. It's like the line is just gone, and you can just hop in with your favorite streamer as long as you got the platform associated to the streaming platform that you're watching. So you're the head of one of these companies, okay? Let's pretend. And this should put all of these silly articles to pass where they're jumping the gun. Are you letting early stumbles, right? Are you letting early stumbles while the cloud platform that you're looking to build up to is only a 1% business rob you of all that earning potential down the road? Aha! I thought not. You're smart. And that's it from your boy MM2K. Let me know what you think about all this in the comment section below, because like I always say, I'm curious what I think. But if you did like what I had to say, check out the links below to follow me. Those links will lead you to the Broadband Bullies, PNTS Network, Hard Knock Digital Culture, and yes, the Stadia Dosage. With all that said, I hope you appreciate this video, and it may help make a lot of sense to you. Till next time, have a wonderful gaming day. Peace.